You've seen our research on social media. Now, join us as we dive deeper into the public health topics of our time, featuring new studies and findings generated by our faculty and researchers committed to advancing health equity. From the Department of Population and Public Health Sciences at Keck School of Medicine of USC, this is Preventive Pros, the podcast.
My name is Jonathan Cohen. I'm a clinical professor of population and public health sciences. I'm also the director of policy engagement with the Institute on Inequalities in Global Health at USC, and I'm the faculty coordinator for the Continuous Learning on Antiracist Curricular Change Fellowship.
And my name is Karina Dominguez Gonzalez, and I am a project manager in the department. And I am the staff representative for the Continuous Learning for Antiracist Curricular Change Fellowship.
Continuous Learning for Antiracist Curricular Change is an exciting new internal fellowship opportunity in the Department of Population and Public Health Sciences that engages a cohort of 12 fellows who are faculty and staff in our department in about a 20-week process of self-reflection about where they are in their anti-racist journey, and offers them an opportunity to make a personal contract for how they will incorporate anti-racist theory and practice into their educational efforts, into their work with students. And the goal of this is really to change the culture of our department around anti-racism by strengthening the knowledge and capacity of our faculty and staff to incorporate anti-racist thinking, to show what's possible in this field of anti-racist pedagogy, which is a growing and dynamic field, not only in the field of public health, but in all of higher education, and to create the momentum that we need for more profound structural changes to make USC and our department a more inclusive and racially equitable place for students to learn and grow and thrive. One of the things that I noticed when I joined USC less than 2 years ago is that our department has a very active, very dynamic Ready Council that has a number of subcommittees that are advancing on different aspects of diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and belonging in our department. Everything from curriculum reform efforts to leadership development to DEI training to having courageous conversations.
Ready Council, which is the Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council that the department established in 2020. From that came a lot of different opportunities for staff and faculty to get involved in this area. This is one of them. So this is the most current one. It's very unique because we are offering this opportunity to staff. This is probably the first time where staff are actually being included in the DEI space in the same capacity that faculty will be.
CLARCC is an 18-month initiative that has begun. It runs from January of 2023 until June of 2024. I should mention that it's possible because of generous funding from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's Initiative on Transforming Academia for Equity. The first part of the initiative, which we're in now from January until August, is the recruitment of the first cohort of CLARCC fellows, as well as the development of a toolkit that the fellows will independently work through during their fellowship. So since January, Karina and I have had the incredible privilege of working with a reference group composed of faculty and students and recent graduates that are developing the toolkit that the fellows will work through. And the toolkit will consist of a series of modules that enable the fellows to self-reflect on what anti-racism means to them, where they are in their anti-racist journey, how they see the links between anti-racism and higher education and public health, and what is a particular personal contract or promise that they want to make to themselves and to their students and to this institution for how they'll incorporate principles of anti-racism into their work. The second phase is the first cohort's fellowship, and that runs from about August through December. So August is kind of the onboarding. And then from September to December during the fall semester, the 12 fellows in the first cohort will make their way independently through the toolkit that the reference group has developed. They'll be supported with one-on-one mentorship, with peer-to-peer learning among different fellows, as well as with cohort-wide meetings. And then the third phase is the second cohort. So we're doing this in rolling cohorts. The second cohort will go from about January until May during the spring semester of 2024. And then we'll conclude in June of 2024 with a capstone meeting of both fellows. But really, I mean, what's important, and I think this is true for so many fellowship programs, what's important is not what you do during the fellowship, it's what you do after the fellowship. It's how you take that learning and continue to lead and inspire others at USC, continue to implement that passion project that you conceived during your fellowship year, continue to challenge the university in positive ways for how we can live up to that goal that we all share, which is to be a model of anti-racist education.
We're really excited because the first cohort, it's very diverse. It's well represented. We have staff, we have junior faculty, we have senior faculty that have been here for decades, showing interest and now participating. So we're really excited to bring everyone into the room and just kind of learn from each other and see where it takes us. I think it's a really important thing to bring people's different perspectives into this process. And again, like Jonathan said, what we do after is what's most important. So we're definitely going to have a lot of people who perhaps have never interacted with each other in the department, have some major interaction over the next couple of months in this cohort. So it's really exciting.
You've been so involved in generating interest and demand in this, both among reference group members as well as fellows. What has that been like? And what are some of the reactions you're getting from folks as you talk about CLARCC?
There's so much DEI stuff. And I say it like that because it just seemed like stuff, you know? It was never really defined or identified in a way that people could understand specifically like what their role could be in those efforts. So it took a lot of explaining and just, I guess, giving people the opportunity to be involved in a way that they could be involved, not, oh, this is big university stuff. I'm just a staff. I can't bring anything to this, or I'm just a student. It took a lot of, no, like your perspective is very important. Like we're not going to have any culture change unless we understand all layers of this department. And that includes undergraduate students, which a lot of people don't know that. Our department has an undergraduate program. You know, it includes graduate students, it includes postdocs, it includes staff, it includes part-time staff, it includes everybody. So I think once people understood that, it was like empowerment. They felt, oh, wow, like, so I could be a fellow or I could be part of this reference group that's going to identify all these things that are going to be put in a toolkit that are going to work towards this culture change. I think that Simon started to build once that was established. Like, no, like you're so important to this department.
We designed the CLARCC Fellowship as a culture change effort. And one of the ways that we achieve culture change is by being inclusive in who's involved. So this is an effort that breaks down some of those traditional hierarchies. It's no secret that at every institution, there's often resistance to work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's difficult work, it's emotional work, it can challenge people, it can cause discomfort, it can create resistance and backlash. And so ultimately, you need culture change to have sustainable change. And also, unlike a typical diversity training, which can last an hour, 2 hours, half a day, it's a continuous process of self-reflection. It's something that participants go through for months at a time. And during that time, are really encouraged to reflect on where they are in their journey, to come up with a project that means something to them. And the combination of doing that in collaboration with each other, with the leadership support that the CLARCC Fellowship has, we hypothesize will actually contribute to changing the culture within our department so that when folks are working on that course revision or that curricular review or that courageous conversation or that DEI training, they're going to find they're doing it in a more conducive environment.
So our first cohort's fully recruited. We're very excited about them. Our second cohort will start recruiting in November, December, to start the cohort in January. So, look out for the application. It should be open in the fall. And again, we're going to be recruiting 12 people, staff, faculty, junior faculty, senior faculty.
If you are a faculty member or a staff person in the Department of Population and Public Health Sciences, and you have a sense that diversity, equity, and inclusion are important, but you're not exactly sure how that applies to you or what you can concretely do to implement those principles into your daily work, then this fellowship is for you. Anti-racism is all about taking those concepts and making them real. So if you're in a classroom setting, it's exactly about revising that curriculum according to principles of racial equity. It's about understanding how to teach your students the way in which racism is enacted through other forms of oppression, such as sexism and ableism and xenophobia and homophobia. It's about changing the way that we evaluate our students in ways that resonate with them. It's about engaging our communities more in our education and our pedagogy. It's about rerouting and decentering hierarchy and how we work together on different projects. And there are very concrete ways that we can do all of these things. And they're happening all over our city, the state of California, all over our country. And our extraordinary reference group members have been culling ideas and interviewing the best and the brightest in this field in order to harvest specific things that USC faculty can do to translate the ideas of DEI into practice. One of the outcomes is that people who participate in the fellowship will emerge with greater confidence in their ability to implement anti-racist initiatives in their classroom and greater belief that the leadership of the university supports them. And that on its own is a sustainable outcome that we believe will grow on its own over time. Another example of that is, Karina always says, seeing is believing. So another outcome that we think is going to come out of CLARCC is that people will be less skeptical, less sort of incredulous about whether it's possible to make this kind of change in a university, because they will have seen these simple, tangible, doable projects that CLARCC fellows have implemented in their classroom. And once you break down that skepticism, once you break down that cynicism among both faculty and students, then it's very unlikely that it will build up again. And then the third outcome that we always talk about is momentum, right? We all know that in order to be the racially inclusive university that we want to be, there are profound structural changes that we have to think about. I mean, these are tough nuts to crack. And we're not going to crack them as a result of the CLARCC Fellowship, but we will feel like we're making greater progress, that we have what advocates like to call wins on the board, right? Because we've demonstrated small steps that are possible. And I think once you've ignited that sense of hope and momentum in people in a university, you can't take it away.
Preventive Pros, the podcast, is produced by the Department of Population and Public Health Sciences at Keck School of Medicine of USC. To learn more about any of our episodes, or to subscribe to our monthly Preventive Dose newsletter featuring the latest in public health research and news, visit pphs.usc.edu/podcast. Thank you for listening.